Welcome back, everyone. Today with us, we've got Taylor Carik. You might know Taylor from Whisky Rock and Roll Club. I don't know if anybody's heard of Whisky Rock and Roll Club.
Well,
Does
the
anybody know
funny
anything
thing
about
about Whisky Rock and Roll Club is that in the thankless Minneapolis St. Paul Rock and Roll Underground, everybody has heard of Whisky Rock and Roll Club. And then outside of that, it's not.
Well, maybe you just need more merch. You need a merch guy, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Well, we played with you and everyone else at Palm Fest, and it was so funny because I made a joke about how much merch we had, which was, a quarter of the patio space at Palmer's, effectively. And we have all sorts of stuff. I made a joke about being a lifestyle brand. And then people cheered really loudly, and I said, "Well, you're not supposed to cheer for lifestyle brands. Like, what are you doing?" But one of the things about Palm Fest that was so fun for Rock and Roll Club is we're used to, a robust crowd of say 12 to 15 people, and so when you get all of the Palmer's patio kind of excited to be there and engaged in what was happening, I was like, well, I'll riff for however long.
Yeah.
So
Gonna ride that wave.
yeah, it was really fun. And but yeah, we also had a good merch day yesterday, so that's good too.
That's, if folks were interested in like engaging in this lifestyle brand you speak
Yeah.
of, how might they go about that?
All right, just come to our shows. We always have all of our stuff at shows. For people who are watching this and might not know what the level at which we have our merch at this point, it's like we have multiple versions of different types of t-shirts and long sleeve shirts to special designs from a residency to all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of it has been really fun to see who has picked it up and where it's, people will send us photos of our t-shirts like next to the Lemmy statue at the Rainbow in LA, or they'll send us a picture of like Ben Nichols from Lucero at a show in Green Bay and he's got one of our jackets on, or
Cool.
So it's cool to see that stuff
Yeah.
make its way around. And Mark has a joke about how we're like pretty close to being able to not have to play music anymore and just like sell
Just
t-shirts
sell
and jackets and
merch.
stuff. So
The
we're
rare
getting
appearance.
there. Yeah.
Right. So you also have a project
Yes.
called Parishes.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Well, again, for folks who are familiar with Whisky Rock and Roll Club, we're a bar band and we're a 3-piece high gain, sounds like rock. We're very straightforward, very tongue-in-cheek, but very entertaining. And I think, that's why I think people who are also in bands in the Twin Cities like our music and get excited about it. But, when the pandemic happened, I still was making music, but a lot of different types of music.
Okay.
And one thing that I don't really enjoy is recording, because I think we've all had this experience, right? Which is like, you got to get the money, you got to crowdfund your album, you got to go into the studio rehearsed, you get X amount of time to do it, and then you hope your sound is right because there's only so much
Sure.
mixing time and vocal takes. That's a challenge too, where I'm not a trained singer. I don't have that strong of a background in singing, and so recording has just been like a nightmare, because it's like you get these 4 takes
Yeah.
and hopefully they can piece together whatever, and then that's what you're gonna get.
Yep.
And that's what people focus on, when the music comes out. That process it didn't really interest me at all And so as I was writing more music and different styles of music and playing with different instruments during the pandemic in like 10-minute increments when my kids would go to bed, I would just like track everything I could in my basement. And, it took a year and a half, but as the pandemic lifted a little bit, I had a pile of songs that I just needed like proper vocal recording. And so I went and worked with Brock at Mid City Studio and got the vocals all taken care of. But again, it was like really like, all right, here's your 20 minutes of singing, and then we're going to see what we can get out of that. And I just don't like that. And it's not to take away from anybody I've worked with, but it's just, sometimes you hear these stories of guys who, like, they live in the studio, all these classic records where it used to be big bands would go on the road for half the year and then they'd get back and then they'd record in the studio for half a year. I'm like, how awesome would that be? Yeah, the thing with Parishes that's just been so gratifying but also a learning process for me is just getting to be at a level where I can just do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. And so, if I'm recording a guitar part, I can just record 200 takes and then use the best take and then just figure out what the best take is and then put it in a bunch of different tracks and add different things in the tracks and just figuring out some of that production stuff over the last like 4 or 5 years has been really cool. And then that also, because I'm not confined to like the 3-piece band with a live sound, I can just do whatever I want. And it really is sort of like clued me into the concept of a recording artist versus like a live musician. And so it ended up being very exciting because I could do so much different stuff and, play with some electronic drums and mix them with live drums and do whatever.
Kind of a silver lining from the pandemic, right?
Well, yeah. And it's been, it was interesting to talk to other people about their pandemic music. So I just had a really good conversation with Jackie Becky. She was in Brute Heart. Okay. And then she moved and is back in town. She's in a band called Florina. And they're very good. And she had a similar kind of thing where it was a lot of musical sort of marination on your own with your computer and your own recordings and that sort of like basement 4-track approach.
So you have an EP.
Yes.
That's out now,
yes,
right?
It's out now.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so great.
It is great.
When are you doing, do you have like a release show coming up?
Well, one thing that's been a real challenge is that, so much like, a lot of the rock and roll bands here, we play in Whisky Rock and Roll Club a fair amount. I mean, we've played Mortimer so many times that we have a pizza on the menu.
Yeah, and you do. I totally forgot about that.
I don't need to have another band that plays Mortimers all the time. And so for Parishes, I'm trying really hard to play specific types of shows. Okay. Whether it's like a basement party or, we had like there's some talk of us doing a pool party release show where people could just like bring their kids and we could go swimming and you get the album when you buy your tickets and stuff like that, just because it's really hard to have a new band, quote unquote band, and then get booked at a venue that I'm not already playing all the time. Okay. And so we had a Parishes show opening for a national touring artist at the Turf Club. And it was really exciting because the sound, I think Paul was there to see it. And, we had a bunch of local folks come check it out. And it was, both of the shows that we've done, live shows, have been very gratifying because it's been people who are excited to hear the music live and people who are like genuinely interested to come see all these people play in this one-off band. The other thing about making a record, because I know you're in the process right now, that's like, it's such a interesting thing, is you know, it can be so anticlimactic because you put so much work into it, and then all of a sudden you're just like, it's out, and then you don't hear anything, and you're kind of like, oh. But you know, I have gotten a couple people being like, oh damn, this is like kind of a crazy record. I'm like, thank you.
Well, it's like
Thank
kind
you
of like
for listening to it and sending me a note.
it's like cooking your own 4-course meal. Like by the time you're done, you're like,
yes.
okay, I guess I'll
Yes.
eat. I mean,
I never want to hear
right?
this song again.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to eat the spaghetti that I just spent 2 hours cooking.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Now you have been involved with dispatch,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. And, you know, the dispatch thing is, so I've worked in and around media for like 20 years, which is really a crazy thing because I'm not that old. So, you know, like when the internet was first coming up, I was like sort of the first wave of new people to be working in media and digital media and stuff like that.
See, that I did not know.
Yeah.
It's like the Venn diagram
Yeah.
of like this.
And so when the pandemic hit, and all our sort of print media went away, you know, City Pages went away, and Growler went away, and some other publications. And some friends of mine at First Avenue were like, you know, you're one of the few people that could probably like launch another publication because you've just been doing this stuff for a long time. I was like, God, I don't know if I want to do that, but you know, it was sort of around the same time that I did my first Parishes record. And when I sent an official press release about the Parishes record out, I sent it, and having been in and around media forever, I have everyone's contact in town. And I sent my press release to everybody in the Twin Cities, like, I have a sexy new record you should talk about. There's some top talent that contributed to it. Check it out. And the only 2 people to reply to me out of everybody in the Twin Cities was God bless her, Diane Miller.
Oh, yay.
From the
Okay.
local show on The Current, who's just a champion.
Yeah.
And then also after several different follow-ups, Keith Harris from Racket.
Yep.
And he spelled my name wrong and got the band name wrong. And so then I was like, you know what? Maybe we do need a publication that covers arts and culture.
I'll do it myself.
Yeah, so I'm not proud to be like fueled by resentment, but like, you know, you play punk music, so you know what it's
I'm
like.
all resentment. It's fine. Have you met me?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. So I talked to some guys, and they got really excited about it, and we launched it, and it went really well, and a lot of people got excited about it, but a couple things also came with it, which was similar to what I was saying earlier. Is like I was also one of the co-organizers of the Taste of Minnesota's comeback. So this year we relaunched it downtown in Minneapolis as a part of like a dispatch endeavor.
Okay.
And it was hugely successful.
Yeah, you
And,
brought First Wrestling in.
Yeah, First Wrestling was one of the best parts about it. We had probably about 100,000 people over 2 days. So it was great, but it also really highlighted a lot of the challenges of the small staff of dispatch, because a lot of people got pulled away from doing dispatch stuff to help with Taste of Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
And it really showed that like we needed to sort of scale up the publication, but we couldn't really do that right now, so we just kind of hit pause for the time being.
Okay.
The market is very challenging right now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, hopefully it'll come back.
yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know. Also, it's like it's all to work, so I'm okay. People are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
I get a breather.
yeah. I don't have to send another email today. Like,
Yep.
I will be fine."
Isn't it amazing how much time that consumes?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
wow.
I might go see a movie. Like,
The world is my oyster.
yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us today.
I am so excited you had me on. I love it
glad
here.
to have you.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Taylor Carik, everyone.
Thank you.